Hey, so the last thing we're going to look at this week is that he leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. I love the Amplified. It says, he leads me in the path of righteousness, uprightness, and right standing with him, not for my earning it, but for his name's sake. Isn't that good? Not because I am good, but because he is good. Not because I first loved him, but because he first loved me. He leads me in these paths. Oh, that'll preach. That'll preach. Not because I have deserved it, but because he longs for me. That he longs to lavish me. That he longs for me to be with him. So, and that's just in the Passion Translation that we just read, that he leads me, he opens up before me the pathways to God's pleasure, and he leads me along his footsteps of righteousness so that I can bring him honor. It's for his name's sake. He leads to show his goodness because he is good. In the Hebrew there, that phrase, for his name's sake, it's just hear the words and let the Lord reveal and process this. It's a brand, mark, reputation, or glory. For his name's sake, it's for his brand. And if being a marketing person, that's what I studied in school. You want all the things, you take out everything that doesn't correlate with your brand, everything that goes in a different direction or doesn't add to your brand. You want everything that is marketing around your brand to say the same thing. You don't want to give people too many different, I'm saying this terribly, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying. You don't want to give people too many different things. You want it very concise. You want it very condensed, and you want people, when they hear that word or they see that color or they hear that phrase, to think of your brand. Well, the same thing here, that the Lord does this, that he loves you and he leads you and he guides you in paths of righteousness and he restores your soul, and he all the things in Psalm 23. He makes you lie down in green pastures. He leads you beside still waters. He does all of these things, not because you've earned it, but because of his goodness, because he is good, because he is faithful, and his hesed towards you will never change. His loving kindness, his tender mercy, God being love himself, the force of love, will never change. And so he leads us in those paths to prove his goodness, not because we are good, but because he is good. For his name's sake, for his reputation, to make him renowned, for his glory. He does it to prove he is who he says he is. I want to look at Ephesians 2. We may go up in Ephesians 1 a little bit also. But let's just go with 2 verse. We could read all of chapter 2, just to be quite honest. So if when you get finished with the Daily Devo, you want to go back and read a little bit more. But he says, and you he made alive when you were dead and slain by your trespasses and sin. This is actually chapter 2, verse 1. In which at one time you walked habitually. You were following the course and fashion of this world, were under the sway of tendency of this present age, following the prince of the power of the air. You were obedient to and under the control of the demon spirit that still constantly works in the sons of disobedience, the careless, the rebellious, and the unbelieving who go against the purposes of God. Among these, we as well as you once lived and conducted ourselves in the passions of our flesh, our behavior governed by our corrupt and sensual nature, obeying the impulses of the flesh and the thoughts of the minds, our cravings dictated by our senses and dark imaginings. We were then by nature children of God's wrath and heirs of his indignation, like the rest of mankind. But God, so rich is he in his mercy, because of and in order to satisfy the great and wonderful and intense love with which he loved us, even when we were dead and slain by our own shortcomings and trespasses. He made us alive together in fellowship and in union with Christ. He gave us the very life of Christ himself, the same new life with which he quickened him. For it is by grace, his favor and mercy, which you did not deserve, that you are saved, delivered from judgment and made partakers of Christ's salvation. And he raised us up together with him and made us sit down together, giving us joint seating with him in the heavenly places, by virtue of us being in Christ, the Messiah, the Anointed One. He did this that he might clearly demonstrate through the ages to come his immeasurable, limitless, surpassing riches of his grace, his free grace in his kindness and goodness of heart towards us in Christ. Verse 8, for it is by grace, God's unmerited favor, that you are saved, delivered from judgment, and made of partakers of Christ's salvation through your faith. And this salvation is not of yourselves. It's not of your own doing. It came not through your own striving, but it is a free gift of God. Again, Psalm 23. He leads us in the paths of righteousness, uprightness, and in right standing with him, not for my earning it, but for his name's sake. It is by grace, that it might be through faith. And this came not of our own earning it, our own striving, but it is a gift of God. Oh, just enjoy that today. That you don't have to earn it, you have to receive it. And we can see his love and his goodness all over that. So maybe next week we'll get to dig into it a little bit more. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you later. Bye.